In this video, I'm going to show you how I created this vanity cabinet. We'll go over my concept phase, design, framing or building, paint, and installation. So you'll get to see the process from A to Z and how much work is involved. So let's get started. Hey guys, you guys can see that we've been working on our bathroom for a while. We tore this down to the studs, and now we're kind of rebuilding everything. The tile and for the shower and the floor are next. I'll put a video up for that as well. But right now we're going to work on building this center, I guess you call it a tower cabinet. I'm going to make it the same way I made the vanity. So what's going to happen is there's going to be two drawers here, one here, and then a cabinet door with glass in the middle. And what I like to do before I start designing these things is just kind of put a prototype together in cardboard so I can get a feel for like how much space this thing takes up. And because you'll design it, you cut it and put it together, then all of a sudden it just doesn't feel right in the space. So we're kind of maxed out in the space here, so it's important that I get this right, that you don't feel too cluttered or too crammed. So next I'll get into how I designed this in Fusion 360. Before I get into the build phase of any project, I like to create some mock-ups of what I'm going to build. So in this case, I'm using Adobe Illustrator. I could have used AutoCAD or SketchUp or some other 2D drawing tool. I'm very proficient using Illustrator, and I have access to it, so that's what I'm using. You can kind of see that I've kind of got my lights kind of mocked up, my mirrors where they're going to be, where the tower is going to be. The vanity is actually already created, and I'll go through that process really fast. So these are kind of rough, drawings with some basic dimensions around them. And what I do with that is I will translate them over into an actual 3D model. I'll go into, in this case, Fusion 360. Any modeling tool will actually work, but and just model all the parts and pieces. And then from there, I'll create drawings of each one. You can kind of see all my drawings here. And then also in the same process, I'll create an assembly so I can tell if all the parts and pieces are going to fit, kind of get a good idea of spacing and that kind of thing. And then what I'll do is go back over into Illustrator and I'll create a cut list. And what you see here is 2 sheets of plywood, 4x8 sheets. And I'll lay my parts out kind of rough here, with some space in between them just for, cut marks and things. I believe that's a 1/4 of an inch. So it gives me enough, play so that when I cut these, I know I have enough wood. And by knowing this, like looking at this, I know how much plywood I need to buy, but also how much I have left over. So this big piece over here on the side, I'm going to make the vanity tower out of this leftover plywood I have from the vanity itself. We'll now take a look at the vanity tower itself. So this is the new file I've created for the vanity tower. I've brought over the vanity itself. Got something off here, but that doesn't really matter. In my layers, I've got the drawer and door kind of put together. Turn that off. Then we've got the face frame, and then we got the frame itself. So this is kind of the frame I've kind of come up with for my vanity tower. It's going to be right at 49 inches tall, 14 inches wide, and then something else. I kind of threw up this box up here that's representative of like trim across the top. So if I move that out of the way, you can kind of see that I've got a 1/2 inch overlap between the door and the piece of face framing, and then I've got a 1/2 inch gap between the top of the door and whatever piece of trim I'm going to put up there. And I'm giving myself a full inch of play up here. once I get this trim put up there, it might be 45 degrees. It might be, I don't know, 40 degrees. I just don't know yet. Once I get that up there, I'll create a cap that goes on the inside to make the top of this flat. Now that I've got my 2D sketch kind of set up, so I kind of have a good idea about how big things need to be, what the spacing needs to be, I'm going to go and create the 3D model. So let me turn off some of these layers here. So now I'm down to the frame. And so this side wall is going to be 3/4 of an inch by 49 inches tall. So I'm going to head over to Fusion 360, create a new design, click on create sketch. Now when you are creating your parts, it's a good idea to model them in the orientation that they're going to be in your final assembly. So in this case, it's going to be on the side. So I'm going to click this plane here and then use the rectangle tool to create basic rectangle. Start adding dimensions. So it's 49 inches tall. In my mock-up, in the cardboard box that I created, I used 8 inches as my depth, so we're going to kind of stick with that for now. Zoom out and click Finish Sketch, and we're going to extrude this. I'm going to rotate it so you can see what we're doing here. Extrude it to a depth of 3/4 of an inch. That's great. Now what I want to do is I want to create kind of some rabbet joints and also some dado kind of cuts in this, so that this bottom piece will kind of join the top, or maybe the sides, the top and bottoms will join with this rabbet cut, and these middle pieces will have kind of a dado cut in there. So what I need to do is figure out where they need to be. So in Illustrator, there's a dimension tool, so I can click here, 5.24. So it's going to probably be 5.25, which is 5 1/4. And this one is really close to 11. So again, I'm only using Illustrator to kind of get a good idea of where things are going to be and placement and that kind of stuff. I use Fusion 360 to get exact measurements. So I need to create a sketch. I'm going to grab this front face. Create a block here. I dimension this out. 0.75, because that's the thickness of the plywood that's going to go in there. And then we're going to do a half rabbet. So it's going to be 0.375. Or if you don't know the decimals, you can do 3 divided by 8, and it'll provide that to you. Next, we need to create another rectangle, actually 2 more. Give those some dimensions. 0.75, 0.75. And there's something else I could do. I could do like some constraints or alignments. I'm not going to do that in this video. I don't have time. If I was doing a much more complex model, I would go and do that. And the reason that is because I could change, like, let's say I could link these two drawings together, and if I change this one dimension, all of them would change, instead of creating it 2 or 3 times like I'm doing. But so now I need to give this a dimension 5.25, and then 11. Last one. It's up here. Okay, so finish the sketch. Now we need to cut those sketches from the actual object. So we'll click on this extrude command and change it from extrude to cut. We need to select the sketches. zoom out a little bit here. Hold the shift key and grab them. Rotate a little bit so you can see. Distance, we'll do all. We'll flip it. You can kind of see going through there. Okay, and now that's it. So this one part, I'll save it out, and this can be the left or the right side. So just by using these dimensions, I can create both pieces. So let's go File, Save. Vanity Tower, we'll do 01. There's that one. So what I'm going to do is go through and model the rest of the parts, and I'll come back and show you the assembly. Alright, so I've created all my part models. I'm going to go through the process of creating what will be called a sub-assembly of the face frame. So what I'll do is I'll start with, let's see, a bottom rail. Put that in there. Okay. And then we'll put the two side rails in, or stiles. I'll slide that over just a little bit. And I'm going to butt joint all of the face frame parts. I'll use pocket screws to attach these, so you'll see that during the build process. Now we need to add the top rail. Slide that up. Now I like to place the models kind of separate from each other before I add my constraints. That way I know what I'm picking. Okay, so we've got the top, the bottom. Let's look back at our 2D model here. This is the face frame. So I've got the top, I've got the bottom, and I've got one in the middle that needs to be 5 and 0.25 or 5 1/4 from the bottom, and the other one 10 or 11 inches. And these are two different sizes. So this is 3/4 and this is 1 1/4 inches. Alright, so bottom rails are exactly the same, so I'm going to lift this one up. I'm going to go 5.25 from the bottom. And I don't really think I need to, in this case, align it or attach it to this face frame, but why not? So here's my offset, and I believe Z. Here comes the Z axis. There we go. And then we've got a mid rail. This is the one that's 1 1/4 inches. And 11 up. There we go. So this is my sub-assembly of the frame. So I'm going to save this. Actually, see what number it needs to be. 17. There we go. So I've already done the drawer assembly, the face frame for it. I have not put in the middle panel. I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's pretty simple to do. I'm going to go ahead and I've already got the door assembly kind of already put together. and next I'm going to assemble the frame, and then I'll come back and show you how I put it all together. Now that I've got the frame assembled, let's add some sub-assemblies. So I want to add in the face frame assembly. Bring that in. I'll move that out a little bit. And then I'm going to attach it to the front corner. It should all move. Boom, just like that. So what I can do now is I can kind of rotate around and look to make sure that everything's aligned properly. And I can already tell right now that there's an issue here, and I'll explain that in a minute. But for now, let me go ahead and finish adding in the door and the drawers. All right, so here's a drawer assembly. Let's add this in. There we go. Let's pull that out a little bit. Now, we need to align this to the face of this guy and lift it up. I think it is a 1/2 inch, I believe. Yeah, 1/2 inch. So let's join it. See if we can do this the right way. And it's got to be how far over? 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. All right. So after a while, these lines start to get a little messy, but we can turn them off. But for now, I'm going to click here, and I'm pretty sure right there and there. Ta-da. So now, if we look at the front of this thing, that's where you see it. So let me try changing to shaded with edges only. That way it looks a little better. Okay. Now, let's add in our other drawer. Bring that in. Let's bring it up and out. And I'm going to use the corner of this drawer to align it here to here. And it needs to be 0.25. So let's look at the front again. That's looking pretty good. So now we got an issue here. So let's see what's going on here. We got this piece I know is 5 inches tall. Let's go see what that is. Drawer, left face. Yep, it's 5 inches. Over here, it is 5 inches. So slide this over. Okay. So let's do some math. So we've got, let's make this a little smaller. All right, 0.5 plus 5 equals 5.5, which is here. Then we got to add this quarter. Plus 2.5 plus 5 equals 10.75 up to here. And if we go that, then this needs to be at 10.5. So this measurement is wrong. So this is just definitely on the face frame. This needs to be 10.5. So come back over here. We'll come in here. Open up our face frame. There's our piece there, I believe. this constraint. Doesn't like that. There we go. So instead of it being 11, it needs to be 0.5. We'll save that. Go back over to the assembly. There's a little caution sign up here. We click on that. It will update. And there it goes. It moved it straight down. So what I can do now is kind of look on the front and verify that that is about, you know, a quarter of an inch over. We can go back later and do dimensions and stuff, but for now in the assembly, I'm just trying to check this out and see. What I really want to make sure is that this back piece, right back here, this part of the actual frame is level, or in, you know, is even with this front rail that's on the frame, so that we can kind of see that. So when the door is going to overlap a little bit here, but we want this to be like a nice, smooth, flat transition. So we go to the front, kind of come down. We can see it right there. There's that one. Then the one in the back. So they're actually flat with each other, even. All right, now let's bring in the door. Okay, rotate that around. Slide this out a little bit just so I can see it. And I'm going to use the corner of the top drawer. And it's going to be, I believe, 0.5. So let's go see. Correct. It's 0.5. All right. So now we can look at the front. So when this door opens up, let's go around the back side. You can kind of see that this is going to be flat surface, and there's a little bit of overlap of the door, which is about a quarter inch to a half of door overlap on the frame. So same thing at the top. We rotate that around and look at it. You can kind of see there's some overlap there. If I change the viewing properties of this, do like shaded and hidden edges, go to the front. You can see that hidden edge back there in the back of the frame, which is right there. And if I go down to the bottom, this is where that dado cut is, or that piece of, it's just kind of a flat piece that goes all the way through, like kind of like a floor. It overlaps the door as well, and then there's like a half-inch gap between the door and the drawers. Now, here's something that we need to take into consideration. And this is why I like to do the 3D models, because I can come back and do kind of like an inspect to see like how wide is this really. I mean, I want it to be 8 inches. So if I click here, it's going to tell me that the thickness of this right now is 8.75, so 8 3/4. And if I went from the front to the back, let's do that, hit close. See if it's going to give it to me. We're at almost like 9.5, and that's 1.5 inches larger than what I needed it to be, right? So I need to basically chop off, 3/4 of an inch off these, the actual casing, the frame. So let me save this, and then we're going to go to the side wall. Go to the first sketch. Change that to, come on, 7.25. Get out of that. Save it. Then we need to go to the top, bottom, middle part. the sketch. Click save. Now, if all of my constraints alignments are done properly, the model should update without us actually having to do too much work to fix it. This one we didn't do any changes. Let's go back to the model. It should give me this little guy up here, this caution. If I click on it, it's going to update all the parts. Now if we measure from the front to the front face, from the back to the front face, we get 8 inches. Then if we go from the back to the front, it's at an angle but linear, we want, well, I know that's going to be 8 inches and 3/4. So that's why I do the modeling, is so that I can go back and check it. If it's not right, make a quick change. So before I create the part drawings, I noticed that I did not account for a panel to be on the back side of this. So I need to update a few parts to account for that. The panel that's going to be on the back of this is about 3/16 thick. So I'm probably going to cut a 1/4 inch notch in the back of these side pieces. These middle pieces of paneling or plywood are pretty easy to fix because they're all the same. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go and find this part. Then we can go into the sketch mode. Change from 7.25 to 7. Let's finish the sketch. Click save. If we go back to the model, it should update. And now you can see that these are kind of cheated in a little bit. So one issue we've got is that these side panels are the same part. And if I cut the, I guess, rabbit or dado in the back of this thing, it's going to be on the front side of the other one. So we're going to have to copy this part. And so I created a copy. I'm going to rename it. Call this one 1B. Actually, you know what? Let's put I can't type today. Call it the right side. Rename. This is a quirk with Fusion 360. If I don't click enter, it's not going to name it. If I click off, it'll just go back to 0, 1 sidewall. So I got to click enter. The joys of saving your work to the cloud, I guess. That's one drawback about Fusion 360 is that you don't really own these drawings or models. They're actually stored in the cloud. You can download them to your machine, but it doesn't really do you any good because you actually need Fusion 360 subscription to open them. Anyway, let's get in here and fix this. So this is the right side. So this is on the right side of the model. So let's look at the top view. So we need to kind of cut a channel right through here. So I'm going to click on sketch view. Get my rectangle. Then give it some dimensions. So we saw the thickness or the depth of it to be 0.25 because the actual panel is 3/16. I want to give myself a 1/16 of an inch of play on the back of this. We could constrain the face or this line to make it collinear. Here we go. That's locked in. And then the thickness, I know it's up against this wall here, but let's make sure that it is, yep, it's constrained. Finish my sketch. We're going to do a cut. I cut that. The arrow's pointing the wrong way. I want to do through all, flip it, click OK. And now we've got the cut on that side that we need, the rabbit. All right, so let's save that. And then we'll open the left side. So the left side, this is actually the front side of the left side here, right? The back in this file. So we need to make sure that we understand that, and we need to cut that little rabbit right through here, that groove all the way down. So I'm going to pick the same surface. This time, instead of at the top, we'll do it at the bottom on this part. And then we'll dimension it 0.25. Looks like it's already constrained itself there. One way to fix that, or to test it, is to try to grab any part of this and move it. And if you can't move it, it means it's constrained like it's supposed to be. So in this case, I did not need to constrain this line with this face here. So let's finish the sketch. I'm going to cut this, change it to cut through all. I never understand this, why it's always pointing the other way. It should know that where the model is that I'm trying to cut dynamically, but it doesn't. All right, so let's save this. Close this out, close this out, close this out. And let's see what it does to my model. All right, so it looks like left side is where it needs to be. This is the one that we've got to change. So, yep. Let's see if we can swap a model out. Replace with right side. Yep, ta-da. Look at that. So again, this is another reason why I like to kind of build my models or design my stuff. This is another reason why I like to create models of the cabinets and things that I'm going to build. I can kind of spot pretty quickly where there might be an error and get in here and make the change pretty rapidly, just like I just did. Now, I'm not worried about the top being open here because that panel is going to go straight here, and I'm going to wrap the top of this with a piece of trim, so you're not going to see that at all, and it's going to be much easier to just, you know, make rabbits on these two panels versus, you know, having a part up here where I trim out that little edge out on this just to cover that. But if this was going to be seen, I would do that, but in this case we don't need to. Okay, so now I'm going to go and create the part drawings, and come back. All right, now I'll kind of go through creating a part drawing of one of these. So we'll start with the left side wall. I'm going to open the part itself, and then click here and go to drawing, create from design. I've got my own title blocks that I've modified. Just I don't like the large title block that comes with Fusion 360. You really just don't need it for personal projects like that. All right, so what this is doing now is I've got the orientation of front, but let's look at what this gives me top. Let's do right side. What does home do? Nope. I'm just rotating it. Let's see. Nope. I'm trying to get it to the view where, here we go, where I can see the lines. Scale, we'll change that. They have some default ones here. Let's see what 1.1 to 8 means. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, just click it and add it. Hit OK. Let's see. Can I rotate this? I should be able to. Nope. There we go. Is it going to let me? There we go. I want to rotate it 90 degrees like that. And then I want to move it. Oh. Then I want to move it down. Should be able just to grab it and move it. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to project a view off of it like that. There's a top view. And you could do an isometric view, but I don't know if I need it really, but I'll just do it just for demonstration purposes. So as I move these away and around, you typically have 3 views of projection. This is called third angle projection. You got top, front, and right side. In this case, it's left side because I'm using this area to show the description of what's going on here. Sometimes you can put isometric in here, and you can actually change the scale of that one. So let's go to 10. There we go. A little better. The goal is to not have any sort of hidden lines in this view. So for example, and the reason I do that is just for simplicity, and also, so I don't make a mistake out in the shop when I'm putting things together. So if I put this view here, you can kind of see there's a hidden line there. And in some cases you can't avoid it, but if you can, do it. Makes things a lot clearer. I've actually designed stuff in a past life, where I was designing some lockers and had hidden lines and things, and the fabricator didn't understand it was a hidden line and put a hole in the top of something. So lesson learned. All right, so I'm going to go and add some dimensions here, and I just need to remember, there they are. So we got one here, one here. And I'm not a big fan of the way that Fusion 360 does their dimensions either. It's very hard to control which side this is on. Maybe someone out there has a better way of doing it, but I prefer the way SolidWorks does it. And sometimes it'll allow you to kind of, I guess, the side that you pick. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to fix these in a minute. I'm just getting them out there for now. So the 25, let's cancel. Let's get rid of this one. Delete. probably put this one on the other side. Leave that one there. Grab this guy, slide it in. Okay. There we go. And then what we can do, it'll let me, is that added on this side. And now we need an overall height or length. All right. So most of all the dimensions are here, which are fine. I mean, I could have used the top view or the side view to add these, but right now this is pretty good. So what I'm going to do is go and create the rest of the part drawings and kind of show you what they look like later. In looking back at this view, I forgot to add the depth of these rabbets and dado cuts. So I'll do that now. So let's click. So we have the thickness. There we go. Now, this is set at 2 decimals, and I really want it to be 3. So you can get it out of the command, click on it with just the select tool and double click, and we can go from 2 decimal points to 3. All right. So I've got that one. Same thing up here. Let's see that. Now, I don't technically have to bring this dimension all the way back here because it's assumed that because it's here, it's following this line, that these are the exact same depth and cuts. All right, let's see here. Am I missing any other dimensions? No. All right, so I'm going to go and finish up the rest of the drawings and show you kind of what the next steps are. Okay, got the parts printed out. Let's take a look at them. So before I start cutting some of the parts, let's just kind of look at the drawings. This is just a basic assembly drawing. I've got some rough dimensions here to kind of spot check once I assemble it. Same thing with the drawers. Then I've got the assembly of the casing with the quantities of each part that I need. I've got part numbers for each one so I can kind of keep track of them. This assembly of the face frame. Again, I've got the bill of materials and how many parts I need for each. And then the actual part drawings themselves with all the dimensions. So this helps me when I get to assemble this thing and start cutting some of the parts, help keep things, keep track of things. I'll actually use these part numbers and put them on the parts. Probably not for this project, but for larger projects I do, so that I can keep track of everything. Because sometimes these projects are like a multi-day project, and since you're a DIYer and you're not able to do these full time, and I'm only sort of piecemealing these together from one day to the next, I might be able to put 2 hours into a project, 3 hours into a project. Then using the part numbers and things like that actually help me keep track of stuff as I'm assembling and building it, so I'm more efficient and not wasting lumber. All right, so the first parts I'll start cutting. Always start with the big ones first. So on this project, that's the 2 sides. So I'm going to cut this out of a piece of 3/4 inch maple plywood, and so let's go cut that.